please find your seats. We're going to get started. Love to hear all this great networking taking place. That's Thank you very much for joining us this morning. This is actually one of our regular monthly LSO knowledge and networking breakfast forums, but it's also our annual general meeting. So we do have our regular governance procedures to go through later this morning. We'll try to make that as painless as possible, but it's one of those things that we have to do every year. And we'll be electing some new directors, so we'll be welcoming them aboard LSO as well today. It is my pleasure to introduce today's speaker, and we always try to target a very special speaker for our AGM to come out and join us. And today, this speaker, Shirlee Sharkey, you have attracted such a crowd. We actually sold out of our AGM. I think that's the first time we've ever done that.
A lot of money.
We didn't. We didn't charge, but we were over capacity today, and we've actually got people online watching the webinars. So that's how popular we were. So great news. So Shirlee Sharkey is President and Chief Executive Officer of St. Elizabeth, leading national healthcare organization known for its social innovation, strong financial performance, and pioneering practices. Award-winning, diversified social enterprise, St. Elizabeth delivers more than 6 million healthcare visits annually and employs 8,000 people, providing nursing, rehabilitation, personal support, crisis research, and consulting services. Mrs. Sharkey's commitment to community advancement is evident in her leadership and involvement on many boards ranging from health to education. She is a past chair of George Brown College and a former president of the Canadian Home Care Association. And in 2014, Shirlee was appointed to the role of chair of the Ontario Health Technology Advisory Council, and she also serves on the Ontario Health Innovation Council, which she's going to speak about today. Academically, Shirlee is cross-appointed to the University of Toronto's Lawrence S. Bloomberg Faculty of Nursing and Health Policy, Management and Evaluation as an adjunct professor. She has appeared on a number of media panels and is widely published on home and community-based healthcare, health transformation, social innovation, and breakthrough leadership. It is my great pleasure to welcome Shirlee.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Wow. With that announcement, you know I have wonderful people around me. That's what allows me to do all of the things that I do, including family and work and volunteers and life. So I always have to recognize them. As we all know, when you're able to do things, it's because of people around. I'm really thrilled this morning to talk to you about the health innovation work that was done with the Innovation Council, and to talk about the scope of the work that the council was involved in, and then the specific has to have recommendations. So there are 6, and then have a particular question. And we have actually one of our wonderful council members, Rate admits Rafi is here, so stand up, and so that any questions come, I will take them. Right. And I see many of your faces that are familiar. Innovation Council, we consulted with so many of you, and that was so useful for the information that we received so that we could bring together recommendations that are meaningful and that will be implemented. So to move to great. So with any innovation, technology, I find more and use these words interchangeably, and we kind of forget about what's the big prize for actually trying. And it really is the work of the council and the recommendations. To put it quite simply, I see it as a means to a bigger end. And what is that end that we're talking about? A healthcare system that we can be all very proud of. That end is amazing and a sustainable and patient-centered system, and one that provides opportunities for Ontario-based companies to thrive. That's the big prize that all of these recommendations are moving and trying to accommodate. And that is, I think, what's so exciting about how we can move forward with things. But we typically, though, do get caught into the tactics and sometimes the strategies and lose sight of the big picture. This is, I think, what we should be measuring in time when the recommendations are implemented to ensure forward in these directions and with these outcomes. So the council, just a little bit about what the council was created in November of 2013, and it is a Ministers' Advisory Body that was established. In itself, it was a bit innovative in that there were 3 ministries that were involved: the Ministry of Research and Innovation, Ministry of Health and Care, and the Ministry of Government and Consumer Services. I think it's innovative just on its own. All 3 of those ministries can be part of working together with the Innovation Council. Again, it really was to help identify and deal with approaches that are going to support the growth and the competitiveness of our Ontario technology sector and to expand the adoption of these new technologies. So there was a lot of clarity in what the focus was, and it was also, I think, designed well to be bringing in the proper ministry individuals, but also the right people around the table to look at all of the issues. Now, you want to know, so what's the current status and where are we with the report? It was submitted in December 2014. There has not been a formal response, but I understand in our world of media, there's been some interesting messages that are out there based on some interesting players in our system saying this recommendation will be implemented. So we have right from the source of Twitter that this is, in fact, the truth. So if it's on Twitter, we know that it is real. But in all seriousness, we feel, all of us as council members, that this work will be implemented. There is a real commitment at the government level to look at these very seriously and put them in place. Plus, additionally, the council offered to continue to advise the government and to follow up in implementing any of the recommendations. So I think that's also a good feedback link to the work, and then also none of us have run away, which is a good sign that we can just throw in the report and say, hey, see it there. We have all said we will continue to provide any support that's needed because all of us are very committed to the direction. So here is your cast of 15 people that were a part of the Innovation Council. You can see that it covers health, research, industry, some great leaders in a variety of different areas, both in the health system and in industry and in research. There were probably 3 working groups were developed to look at and kind of understand, as we know, the technology innovation cycle, which is the adoption, promoting innovation, strategic procurement, and then knowledge translation or adoption. So these 3 working groups the recommendations are aligned with these groups. So I just give you that context of, and I go through the 6 recommendations. I'll align them with these 3, what I call buckets of activity. Anne Snowden led the promoting innovation. I was the chair of strategic procurement, and I'll let you know that was all about smart shopping. So that is why they put me into that area. As they said, this is one heck of a smart shopper. One can have to believe that. And then the third was Leslie Thompson, who chaired the knowledge translation or adoption area. And then all of the various members were part of these various groups. And I really think it helped us first focus on these areas within the innovation cycle, but then we all came together to look at how the recommendations were all interrelated. And it was a really good line because we didn't either front end things too much or back end or not bring them all together, so that these 6 recommendations I think are rich, they're robust, and they deal with all of the components of the whole innovation technology cycle that all of you know so well. So you'll see that as I walk through them. So, first recommendation, and there was a lot of discussion with the council whether we were going to list recommendation first or last, because I look at it as the umbrella of all of our recommendations to ensure that we make sure these are implemented and monitored effectively. And this is establishing Chris of the Chief Health Innovation Strategist. So immediately we are now talking OHIC, 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 OHIC. And this is what I want to tell everybody. Because people are saying, well, what's this position going to be? What are the competencies? My goodness, etc. So I think if you could say the OHIC will be the mostest of anything we could ever have asked for. Because that really does give some perspective, again, of what we're trying to do, which is to have accountability, to have similar responsibility, to look at all of the things we're talking about in the innovation cycle, and to, in fact, help us reduce the barriers, help us bridge the gaps, and help us reach out to all of the stakeholders in what we call this large ecosystem. I think that also, we know with any of these positions and structures, what will be necessary is a strong and clear mandate from the provincial government in this position. We also know that experienced leadership that can work with the various cross ministries and cross healthcare sector mechanisms. We know that the central office needs to both integrate and align and bring forward existing strength, but also identify gaps that need to occur, and that we need some authority on the public account of innovation. So it truly is the position of the mostest to how this will play out. We hope that this will be in place and there'll be great clarity within this shortly, because it truly is the anchor to how other components of the recommendations will play out. Well, if you want to sit, there's a seat there where I'm sitting. It's the nurse. It's the nurse in me. I just, relax. Weight off, exactly. Okay, but if you're good, that's good. The second recommendation, again, we heard a lot about people don't know where to go, people have ideas, there's so many different players in the system. How can we get a hold of all these moving parts? And so the concept was to create positions called innovation brokers. And their role would be to provide as a point of contact and also customized assistance, meaning, as you know, everyone with different ideas and different solutions and different thoughts sometimes needs to be positioned in different ways versus one and all roads lead one direction. Especially if it's innovative in a new technology, sometimes it's a real change up to who and what it should be properly to. So these brokers will provide this to what I would call the ecosystem. And they will give access and provide opportunities for people to understand potential source of funding, test sites, guidance, mentorship. That's the theory behind the broker model. And you can see in this diagram, it just depicts the brokers in the middle relationship with OHIC, the 3 ministries that are involved. And what we have is all of the, what I call ecosystem of players in the environment. And so what this is trying to do is to be flexible, to be responsive, to be focused, but to not impede the very essence of what innovation is all about, but in fact to accelerate it and to create an environment that businesses and people and entrepreneurs understand where to go and how to make sense of the environment and can have someone guide them in that way. The hope is that the broker positions will be in place 1 year, within 1 year of the establishment of the coaches. So we did put in some of the recommendations and specifics of time frames so that it could also give both the ministry and the evaluation of what we do clear, rather than just kind of this kind of that. We really had some time measurements and position measurements, which I think is a very good sign. The third is all about the money. Money always comes. The recommendation is to provide a 4-year, $20 million health technology innovation evaluation fund. And it's looking at 2 components, the pre-market evaluation, and secondly, early adoption, and trying to expand on early adoption so people are moving more to size and scale, which we know is so relevant. So these are the 2 spots that we know in the whole technology cycle that create a lot of hiccups and difficulties. I kind of have looked at this as these are water stations we're trying to create in the valleys of the land. That's how I, in a simplistic way, go, hey, this can help within that. And this is one mechanism. As we know, there's many other opportunities and mechanisms with other existing bodies, but this is one that can help, I think, jumpstart some of these initiatives and help people in both of these facets. Clearly, the funding will be conditional on the proposed technologies that are in line with the health system priorities. So it's critical in this that we have also a good identification of the health system priorities to help people understand if they're responding to these opportunities in the pre-market and in the early adoption phase, what are those areas that they should be contemplating and considered. The fund will be administered by, once again, the OHIC of the mostest will be actually administering all of this. And you can see how I'm humorous with it, but it is going to be extremely important that it has the opportunity to anchor all of these activities. Next area that we move into is a lot of the work that came out of my working group of strategic and value-based procurement. And a lot of the review we did in so many sectors, the story was the same from everyone. That people needed to be brought in sooner to the purchasers so that they could understand what was required from an outcome point of view. Versus with so much procurement, we see now it's either too narrow or we're being, in the industry, vendors, environments not brought in soon enough to say, what are your problems? And we will now come forward with solutions and to have some strategic value procurement culture shift and I think philosophical changes to how we look in this environment. When we looked at the automobile industry, we looked at aviation, there were a number of areas that we looked at. These common themes were really consistent, that the more you bring in people to help you with solutions you're looking at, the greater chance you have for a great solution and a great audit and service for people. So it can be very complicated, but a lot of times a lot of this is information and communication and working with people in partnership and skill development to embrace a new culture and a new ideology. So we talk more specifically about supporting healthcare organizations so that they can use more strategic approaches to procurement. And so rather than, this is what I need, talking to, give us some ideas for solutions you may have to the problem I'm experiencing. The next is really equipping organizations to understand the full value of innovative health technology. And I mean, I've certainly seen this in the home care space, where if you're limited on what's the cost benefit of this technology in the home environment, and don't look at the value proposition for the whole healthcare system, it can be very limited. If you step back and say, this can help here, 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 then it is a whole different value proposition. So that, I think, has been well embraced and understood. And then lastly, the recommendation is to educate and improve the competencies within the procurement organizations. So a combination of, as I say, a philosophical change, competency change, and then bringing in solutions, people, opportunities sooner to the process of strategic procurement. I actually felt that even though our recommendations were a bit broad, that if we didn't anchor what was the critical cultural problem and simply try to have these tactics, we'd miss the big prize. So there probably is going to need to be more substance to how this plays out. Plus, additionally, the Ministry of Government Services was also, and is going through a whole best practice initiatives for procurement. And they were part of this initiative with us. So it's very good informing on both sides to move forward with this activity. The fifth recommendation dealt with, this is where we're moving into the knowledge translation for the adoption. So you can see these 5 and 6 deal with that. 1 and 2 was sort of the beginning, and then the procurement was in the middle. But this is really to look at reviewing the barriers that innovators face when they are in fact developing or scaling new technologies. Also looking at the adoption of these technologies by clinicians. Because we know sometimes you get it, it's there, we proved it, it works, but then the adoption is there, it's a challenge. Also looking at new technologies that require incentives or the removal of barriers to adopt it. These could be anything from reimbursement fees, as we know, to support for implementation. That would be the education, the training. A lot of this is the culture change in the work process of what needs to take place because of the new technology and innovation. And this is really to keep an eye on what are many of the weaknesses that we continue to hear through this process, and to force some real analysis and observation to understand what's happening. Versus, sometimes we get to a lot of the rhetoric. This didn't work, so there it is. But you really begin to say, well, all right, what are the barriers? What do we need to do? And be much more proactive with that activity. The last, the sixth, and the final is the pathways to adoption. And I look at this recommendation as 5 is really, let's get the cards created and get the right cards and get them with the right capacity. And I look at the pathways to adoption as let's get them on the most effective highway. And that would be the 407 in Toronto, because you can't travel anywhere else. I go on the 407 even when I have to go south, just because I like to move around. But it really is that kind of an analogy to create these smooth pathways and uptake so we can get the size and scale quickly. And what's being recommended that we look at existing platforms that exist for some of this adoption, and look at expanding on some of those. And ART was one that we examined and looked at, and there's others that certainly fit into platforms that help with adoption. everything from some of OHIC's work that kind of touches on some of these activities to individual hospitals and health organizations that move into greater adoption than others. We want to really try to build a more effective platform and the right pathways to get the adoption to happen. Or we're right back and even more frustrated because we'll have the great ideas, the great products, good understanding of its value, but no one will be using it. So we will have moved forward. So finally, here are your 6 recommendations. And as you can see, they capture the adoption, they capture, you can tell I always want to just get results. So instead of talking about promoting innovation, I'm always adopt it. It's just always the speed under it, but they are about promoting innovation, making that happen. The procurement, to actually get someone to buy it and use it, and the adoption. And we know all of those 3 areas, each one of them is a challenge. And in each one of them, there are issues that need to be tweaked, where there are barriers, where there are incentives. You know, in each one, there are some existing bodies that are trying to help in that. And some, there's some big gaps. In some, the culture is off. Really embrace what innovation and technology can do. So we're hoping that all of these cover off the innovation technology cycle. And they go back to the very beginning of what's the big prize. And the hope is that we really will create value. And by that, meaning social impact, health system benefits, and economic benefits. And that was really the anchor of the position with the Innovation Council and what we were trying to do. So I think I'll stop there. I think I'm really on time, so good. And if you note, I am on Twitter, so anything I say has to be the God's gospel truth. So just in case. But happy to take the question.
Nick had his hand up right away.
Oh my gosh.
Can you go back to the 6 recommendations?
Yeah.
Most of us will ask questions along the way.
There we go.
Great presentation, wonderful report, and I love the matrix showing the innovation focus in the middle, and it's like they can shift in any part of the cycle that they need to be.
Exactly. Yeah.
Question though, innovation brokers treat like RICs. So how does RICs play into it? Because RIC are points of access where entrepreneurs go in there for programs, for resources, for everything else to help them grow and get in there. But you're saying you're
Yeah.
That's the balance of my life.
It's a great question, and there are going to be many components in each one of these goals. So look at this and that. And what we're trying to do is, and that's what the brokers will say, what already exists? Are there gaps there? How do we design this and build on what exists or create something new or make some sense of it? And a lot of this, I look at it as we now have an incomplete puzzle. What we don't want to do with this recommendation is throw that out and create a whole new puzzle. But we actually want to take those pieces and either enhance them. Some we may want to take them out and put something else in. I think that would be unlikely unless they are not delivering on what they need to. And the majority is enhancing them and moving them together. And it's a great question, and I see it in the role with OHIC. I see that playing and changing in this. The role of Excite being part in changing and being part of this. So they're all very good questions, and it will be, I think, all of us working through the system, the OHIC, the various groups to talk about. It's what I found a lot. Many people they only understand the part of what they're involved in, and don't understand all the other pieces that interest with the activity. So I think if we can actually get to understand the big picture, that will really move us forward. Your observation is absolutely correct, and all of you are probably going to pick that up with other areas, and that's why I say to all of it is yes, and we will review, because a lot of these things were created, that was then, this is now. So So you want to figure out the now, how it needs to look different. Rafi, did you want to add that?
No, I think that consolidation is key. And one of the things we learned about work is it became investigated and indicated that they didn't know where to go. So at a minimum, the OHIC should be a concierge knowing what's going on and who does what. And the puzzle is probably the best metaphor of anyone.
Well, is it almost like a Sherpa going to the system like this person?
So it's still
Sounds good.
It's really still every day to know who is going to be this person, you know, is a person.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, it's a person.
She knows what I know.
We had a lot of this man woman, so it's now advanced to person. So it's beautiful.
So this person had a huge role because consolidating everything that we've done in a good way, but also consolidating is really central.
And I suspect some of this will also be built into the government's response to OHIC. I mean, they'll look at the systems that they.
Well, for that, I certainly have something to say. The reason why we decided to stay on board, at least for the next 12 months, is to make sure that it connects. We will not let them stay still.
Another question for Shirley. Dan.
Can you go back to your value equation? So my sense is the first two value drivers are largely, I would say, digital health and maybe some spectrum medical devices, right? In terms of our system needs to modernize, digitize, and get to the 21st century. Whereas currently the driver was economic value of the ecosystem in the pharmaceutical industry, which I think is a very one broader. So in the mindset, was pharma equal to device equal to health IT? Or is this more for a certain type of technology?
Here's the Canadian now. All of the above. It really was a bit of all of the above. However, your first statement of kind of virtual care and transformative care, a lot of our conversation, this may be one of the first areas to put some focus on, because we believe, just as you have said, from the social impact and health system impact, that maybe really get the greatest productivity and transformative change of what needs to happen. But I would say we were broad. And in these recommendations, we really didn't align them to the what. And I think a lot of that will play out to what currently exists for certain areas, because, sometimes with medical devices, it's a different thing. Some sort of human service solution changes play out in different other clusters. Telecare has played out in other groups too. So to allow that to play out, and this is where the government has to identify their priorities. And we kept saying, rather than is it this, is it this, is it this, going back to the procurement, what are you trying to accomplish? In other words, is this about people aging while at home for as long as possible? Is this about diabetes? The management of that? Is this about choose? Get those broad areas, get those priorities, and then the ecosystem will respond. So there was a lot of conversation about that. And actually in the other industries that we observed for procurement, that was actually one of the most critical issues, that they were identifying what they wanted to be achieving in the future, what the problems were, and they got that out to everybody fast and furious. So people in their businesses and their ideas were focused versus guessing what you think the needs are and how you can solve it.
Shirley, kind of the timeline for the tactics. So, for example, back to number 3, the Health Innovation Fund.
The money.
Yes, the money. So, what's the timeline to start the tactics? So, for example, is it when the government responds that you will design how it will be done, like submission, review, or do you have that already in motion?
We don't, and actually it will be all administered through the OHIC, the Office of the Health Innovation Fund. So the details on that we don't have. And that's why there's a real kind of need to get that provision filtered, because that is where you see these things be implemented in real life. Right? But there were some guiding principles within those, that whole money area that you picked up from the pre-market and the adoption.
Right.
And there was
afraid that there's going to be a delay because these packets are being designed. So once there's approval, there's still a long lag. This is wonderful stuff.
Well, it's a very good point, and to Ravi's comment, that's where we're hoping the Innovation Council can maybe meet in an ad hoc way, and so we can hear from the system, complaints happening, and can bring that forward to help move things. And I think that's in the spirit of what innovation is all about, continuing to get the ideas.
Yeah, I know there's lots of questions. I'm going to
Maybe
take
top one more. I will reference in the mandate. It says it's a cashless exercise. Do not make any financial account. Just come up with ideas. Over time, you realize that if you don't put a certain dollar sign in it, it will be totally sterile. So $20 million just to begin.
Yeah.
Rafi broke the rules.
I'm tweeting it right.
Make sure that's rapid.
Thank you for that. These are excellent, and you don't know what time you share with us your optimism for these coming past, and we're going to do what can everybody in this room and the organization present you to help move this forward.
Great question. I am very optimistic that we're going to move quickly on this. I definitely, there's no big surprises. The government's all part of our conversations, and so that's, I think, the nature of this. It's actually when procurement works in the same way too. There's no big surprise that we come back with the magic. It's all clear in kind of discussion of things. And I think that I call this always sort of thinking and recommendations and report and implementation kind of on the line. It's all simultaneously happening, which is a good thing. And that's why I am convinced this is going to happen quickly, and we will move. And the innovation strategist position it is going to move quickly because it has to, or else these other things don't make sense. How can you help? I think twofold. You can reinforce this is in the right direction. You can put pressure on and say, this is fantastic. This is the right direction. Great steps, baby steps forward. We are anxiously waiting, and we're ready to help make this thing successful. I can also help that when there are some hiccups, and there always are, is to help us understand that. And if we can, whether it's, I hope that the Innovation Council will come together. No one was remiss, just in thinking about it, that I should have identified that the chair of the council is Dr. David Williams, who's the CEO of Southlight. And he's such a good chair and works so well with everyone. That's probably why I thought, oh, well, we just don't make it happen. But I must reinforce he did a fantastic job as chair for the report and the council. He brought such diverse minds and thinking and was able to work with us. So I certainly should have identified that right at the beginning. So you do it at the end. Absolutely. But the second why I went off on that tangent is that I think if we get the Innovation Council coming back to a quarterly or timely base, you can use us to give that feedback, that you're not just all scattered all over the place. You can use us, and then we can provide that. We can be your soapbox to discussing that with the innovation group and the ministry, and hopefully the OHIC position will be created. So it, again, almost like the book, it'll help you through the council get that information out. Sometimes there's just so much information, loud voices versus good, substantial knowledge that we can work with.
So last question, I saw Ella, you had your hand up there.
So I was just interested in your comment about public procurement and setting priorities. So I'm wondering whether you envision those priorities being set fairly locally at the hospital level almost, and then going up. Would you envision that the government would have the provincial priority and
it's a great question. And a lot of that is the government will need to determine how they are going to play that out. We were just very clear in this that there has to be clarity with what, and clarity on the fees, not clarity on we're now moving into telehome care. That isn't clarity. The issue is what are you trying to do with that? For what problem and what outcome are you looking for? Then I would say, then allow the system to bring forth all of the solutions that make sense. So I think I made a couple of areas, and this is, I personally believe the procurement is going to be the slowest area because it's culture change that's necessary. But again, that's where you can help by providing some input to that. So I do think we're going to have macro, and we do have now certainly at the government some good priority statements in areas. And they're signaling where they want that. But I do think we'll see at the local, the LINs, and in the procurement and hospital area, it will, some of it will be same old until we really begin to inch a bit. But I think this is the area where we probably have to be the most patient. But this is the area that people will listen to here. But it's not a simple, quick fix.
Shirley, I want to thank you so much for coming here today.
So Shirley, we hold our awards gala every year. We just had ours in February 20th. We had over 400 people. So we're going to put you on the slate for next year's the Air Canada Center because we're just selling out.
And I'm going to come with the OHIC.
And just bring the OHIC with you. That'll be cute. So keep that open. Thank you so much for that wonderful and engaging talk. I know that the OHIC has been an area of interest for everyone in this room, the whole life sciences community. So it was great having you here today to speak on that. Just so you know, Mark Smithies, who asked the question, co-chairs our policy and GR committee at LSO, along with Jason Laughlin, who's also here today. And one of the things we did immediately following the OHIC report was to issue a statement in support, recommendations made, and we will continue to champion that and keep pressure on as well. So thank you. Oh, absolutely, yes. We're going to be
End of June.
Where are we going?
So we're going to Philadelphia in June. That's our Bio International Conference. So yeah, Rafi's inviting everyone. Everybody's in.
No, I'm going to.
So thank you again.
My pleasure.
Just a few quick announcements, and then we're going to go through some of our governance for our annual general meeting. Just a quick announcement around our LSO networking night. Our next one is going to be coming up in July. It says here May 5th. Thank you, Andrew. At the Marche restaurant. So please keep that in your calendars. Those are excellent events to attend. Our upcoming breakfast meetings, we'll have one on April 23rd. That will be our Bio Street kickoff, which Rafi just alluded to. And then following that, we will be out in Niagara to host a breakfast in wine country. So I don't think we'll be serving wine breakfast though, but still, if you make it out to Niagara, it will be a great event. If you can't, we do webcast these events now, so you can log on and join us virtually. And then we'll be having a subsequent one in June, which will be our marathon, one or two that we host. If you're a golfer, please sign up and register for our annual golf tournament in August. If you're not, you can register for the lunch. It's a great networking opportunity, so I encourage you to join us. Last year, we sold out really early. The early bird rates are very popular, so I know it doesn't feel quite like golf season yet, but we're getting there. So please sign up soon. And our mentorship program. This is an area we're always looking for support. There's a lot of young professionals in the life sciences industry. We've all been there at one time in our careers, and so I encourage you all to contact our office and sign up as a mentor. And finally, I should say a quick thank you to our corporate sponsors, Steve Toronto, Sonoma Pasteur, RXD, KPMG, as well as Town Richmond Hill and EY. So with that, I'm going to introduce the Vice Chair of our Board of Directors, Dr. John Kelly. Dr. Kelly is the Executive Vice President of the Ontario Vegetable Growers Association. Paul Lucas, our Chair, was able to attend. He's out of the country today. John has kindly stepped up to the plate here to run through our governance and the election of our directors. So with that, please welcome John. Okay.
Sure, if you want. So I am going to go away from the script right away. Oh, great. And Rafi, since you're on that OHIC committee, I think that you need to bring food into that committee because it's going to make food now. We have most of our organizations, if you go on any of the websites, health and food is the number one thing that people do. So yes, so that would be. So good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is John Kelly, and I am the Vice Chair of Life Sciences Ontario. Paul Lucas, who is our chair, is here. He's got good family reasons for not being here. So the directors and officers of Life Sciences Ontario would like to welcome you to this annual general meeting. And it's for the purpose of electing directors. It's for reappointing our auditor, authorize the continuance of the corporation, and receiving reports from the CEO and the treasurer. Before considering anything, that we've got a few matters of procedural things we need to do. A notice of the holding this annual general meeting was duly and properly transmitted to members of record. I'm advised that there are at this meeting votes representing persons by proxy in excess of what's required by the bylaws of the corporation. So by stating that, I can declare that we have quorum for the meeting and we can proceed to transact this business. On all other things, each member has one vote, right? So bylaws permit members to decide to show them generally, unless a poll was attended. So what I'd like to do now is introduce the directors of the corporation, and many are here actually, which is fantastic to see. Those in attendance here include David Allen. You put your hands up. David in the back. Matt Buist, right there. Ed Detka, Rafi Hofsky there. Rob Key, myself, Jason Laughlin, Jason at the back there. Janet Northern, right there. Mark Smithies, Allison Symington, Nancy Tout, right at the back. Directors, right in the corner. And Russell Williams. There you go, right up, there you go. We're not in attendance are Dennis Burkany, Paul Lucas, Jason Parker, Dale Patterson, Benny Ravinsky, Pat McGilder, John Van Leeuwen, and Bernard West. So that's the current slate. We also have officers of the association. Paul Lucas is chair, myself as vice chair, Matt Buist is vice chair, Mario Cucinin, Jeff Graham, Jeff is and Jason Field is the president and CEO. Okay, we're coming. So one of the things that I get to do as the host of this event is to thank our outgoing directors, and each of these people have had significant contributions in their own way. And remember that this organization is a volunteer organization, so they give up their time. So people who are completing their terms are Dennis Burkany, Dale Patterson, Jason Parker, and Tom Halder. So we would like to officially thank them and recognize them for their contribution. That should be so reflected in the minutes that go forward, because it is, like I said, an important organization, and it's an important voluntary program that people do. So now we have to move on to the election of the officers and directors for the corporation. The first order of business is to consider the vote. A proxy circular that was sent to all members before the meeting identifies names for the board of directors. As set forth in the circular, the board of directors and officer nominees are as follows. David Allen, Matt Buist, Ed Ditka, Rafi Hofstein, Rob Key, John Kelly, Jason Laughlin, Paul Lucas, David Northern, Danny Ravinsky, Mark Smees, Alice Hemington, Nancy Tout, Pat Van Gilder, John Van Leeuwen, Bernard West, Russell Williams, and we also have new nominees to the board. Nick DiPietro, who is not here, Scott Tanner, Scott, right there, and Lauren Fisher, right there. Okay. So these are duly transmitted. The officers, Paul Lucas, Chair, John Kelly, Matt Buist, Vice Chair, Mary Chin, Treasurer, Jeff Graham, Secretary, Jason Field, President and CEO. So I'll now entertain a motion for the proposed slate of nominees to be elected. I recognize Matt Buist, and we need a seconder of the corporation, Mark Smees. Are there any questions regarding the nominees? Are there any other nominees? Okay. All right. So if there are no other nominees, I would ask all those members in attendance to indicate whether you support these nominees. So this would be all those in favor, please raise your hands. And anyone withholding approval? Seeing none, I will declare that the nominees for the board of directors are duly appointed and elected. So yeah. So one of the nice things about being able to host this is I get to offer a few comments about the organization. And really, what I want to talk about is what we're about. You all should have received copies of the annual report, and it does a fantastic job of describing what the organization is. But I always describe the organization as advocating for policy to support the sector, and I mean the entire sector, which is represented through pharma, food, agriculture, bioeconomy, forestry, biomed, veterinary, crop protection, anything to do with life sciences. So I was talking to Mario this morning, and he was saying how much he couldn't believe how this organization now fully represents all of life sciences, and I completely concur with him. We also have to deliver value to our members. This is serious business, and it's not something the board takes lightly. It's because of this that we've increased our communications capacity for home, strengthened our outreach, and extended our influence. Whether you're a large multinational corporation, an up-and-coming entrepreneur, a supporter of life sciences, or an engaged worker, we have to make our business known to you, right? We have to communicate well. If we deliver value to our members, but don't tell anyone about it, then that value that is brought forward is seriously diminished. We are raising the profile of life sciences throughout the key priority sector for economic and social prosperity. This is the essence of sustainability. And when I look at the slide that Shirlee put up on the value, that's just like sustainability. We look at sustainability in the ag space as environmental, economic, and social sustainability. And healthcare value is the same thing as environmental sustainability. This is really consistent with what we value. You know, if you look at our mission and vision, right after that, there are things we value. We value collaboration. We value inclusivity, consultation, consensus. Life Sciences Ontario wants to speak with a unified voice, one voice. Equally, the social and economic benefits of life sciences, this is something we also value. And we also value science and evidence-based decisions. Now, this has become very challenging for us in some of the consultations that we've seen in some of the sectors, and we need to continue to have a voice there. Life Sciences Ontario continued to grow as Ontario's voice for life sciences throughout 2014. Beginning with our board members, we welcomed 3 new senior executives, one from the pharma, one from the agri-food, and one from the biomaterials sector. It's our diversity in the senior leadership that translates into effective advocacy, and it really provides great leadership for the organization. We also recognize that there are more passionate leaders within the sector. that aren't on the LSO board. So we created a new committee to help engage leaders in life sciences and to ensure that their contributions and collective experience influences the direction of life science in Ontario. So it's becoming more inclusive, more collaborative. We've strengthened LSO's leadership in the fashion salary to produce meaningful results. We issued a statement supporting the government's decision to invest in the Mars Discovery District. This is a key component of Ontario's life sciences ecosystem. Minister Brad Duguid read the statement in the legislature during question period to defend the government's position and support innovation in life science in Ontario, allowing him the opportunity to specifically recognize life science in Ontario and the leadership role that we play within the sector. We'll continue to demonstrate this type of leadership by raising the profile of life science in Ontario as a strategic priority sector for Ontario's economy and future prosperity. Our next step is publishing a detailed Life Sciences Ontario report in 2015, and we've done that, right? So you just have to look at that report. And it's a great report that actually compares us well to other sectors, and we perform very well. It's much needed. It's an evidence-based benchmark to inform life sciences advocates and policymakers of the importance of this sector. So to conclude, Life Sciences Ontario continues to steward a strong, aligned voice for Ontario for the life sciences sector. We'll continue to be the champions for collaboration and work with government and all life sciences stakeholders. That's why I'm up here. That's why I'm the ag guy, right? It's all life sciences to see our sector grow and thrive. So with that, that's the report from this podium as it is today. Thank you. So we have a couple of other things that we need to report on. What are the financial reports that everybody's they're available in the annual report? Okay. So we'll be looking. You can see our financials and our year-end reports. And I'd like to comment that we've had a solid financial year, and it's enabled the LSO to continue to invest in projects and activities that benefit the broader biotech community. So with that, it's really a good news story. Life Sciences Ontario is healthy. We have lots to offer, and the finances really support that. What we need to do now is appoint an auditor. So the next order of business is to appoint the auditor of the corporation, Norton McMullen LLP. I'll entertain a motion to appoint that auditor. Mario, seconder. David Allen, thank you. So the motion is I move that Norton McMullen be appointed as auditor, independent auditor for the fiscal year that ended December 31st, 2015. Are there any questions? All those in favor of the appointment? Any withdrawing their support? Seeing none, we'll report that as passed. So now what I'd like to do is I'd like to invite Jason Field, who's the President and CEO of Life Sciences Ontario, to come up and deliver his report.
Thanks very much, John. John, I don't know if I told you, but my 5-year-old son started in hockey this year. And my wife convinced me that since I was driving him to the rink anyways, I might as well volunteer to coach. And I said, I don't really want the responsibility of being a head coach, it's a lot of preparation and stuff. So I'll volunteer to be an assistant coach. And that way I get to be the good guy, right? I can help them with the kids, I can cheer them on, and so forth. Of course, the head coach broke his hand first week. So all of a sudden, I have to step in and coach a dozen 5-year-olds. I'm not sure if he thought the broken hand was the less painful route. I'm not saying he did it on purpose, but I learned a valuable lesson. Being an assistant coach is sometimes more difficult than being a head coach because oftentimes you're asked to step up. There's nobody backing you up, right? And you're usually given short notice and little creation time. Luckily for LSO, we have 2 vice chairs that step up on often occasion. John, you've done so today. Matt Goose, our other vice chair, has done so on many, many occasions. So I just want to take this opportunity to thank you both for always being there and stepping up when we need you. And John, we have a head coach opening for about 5 years. So 2014 was a really critical year for LSO. We wanted to focus on delivering strong content to support our mandated voice of Ontario's life sciences sector, while continuing to deliver the programs that we're well known for in terms of building a strong life sciences community. I'm very proud of the work that we continue to do through our regular events, such as our monthly breakfast seminars, our mentorship program, our awards gala, and our various networking events, and our annual fall policy forum, which John also co-chairs that event as well. Our attendance and participation in all of these events and programs continues to grow, and that's illustrated here today with the sold-out audience that we had at our AGM. In addition to these programs, I just want to call out a few highlights from last year, and John's already mentioned, but I just want to put an exclamation mark on them. I think it was really important right from day one of last year, as we were moving forward, that we were engaging our government stakeholders more than we ever have in the past. That started right with our gala in 2014, when we had two cabinet ministers, both Minister Brady and Minister Deb Matthews, present, as well as a strong showing from various deputy ministers. We also had Minister Brady stating at our breakfast during the National Biology Week. And we had a number of government officials attend our life sciences policy forum, including representatives from the Premier's office. So we further strengthened this through our statement on Mars, which John pointed out, Mr. Duguid read aloud in the legislature, which we thought was quite something in terms of demonstrating the leadership that we have in this, their decision to continue to invest in innovation. We will continue that strong working partnership with the province through 2015, as is evidenced and Rafi alluded to. We are taking on a bigger role at the Bio International Conference this year. Some of you might know that for the last several years, we've worked with the province to host a pre-bio industry breakfast. This year, they've asked us to take on a larger role in terms of organizing the Ontario booth at Bio and staffing it. So we are taking on that role for the first time. So if you're at Bio, please come help out, help us make a good impression. We certainly want to profile Ontario in the best possible manner. John mentioned also our sector report. That's where that infographic right over here has come from. It's available, full report's available on our website. Much of 2014, my time in 2014 spent working on that report. It was nearly a year in the making. It was something we did all internally with our own resources. I went out and asked KPMG to validate our findings and our analysis, which they did. And they jumped right on board with the project, put a couple of resources towards it, which added a lot of value and created what I think is an excellent final report, which, as John mentioned, it is meant not to be an advocacy document. It's not meant to be an LSO work. This is meant to be something for the entire life sciences sector to use. It's meant to be transparent and credible. It's to present the facts. And we use a methodology that already exists in the US so that it will allow us to benchmark against other jurisdictions. So we want this to be a tool to inform policymakers, but also to inform advocates. And it has shaped our advocacy in the sector. And we're much more focused now because of this work, because of the data that we have. And we want to continue to do this sort of work on an ongoing basis. So for 2015, we are going to focus our efforts in advocating for a growth strategy for Ontario's life sciences sector. We are going to disseminate this report and its findings as broadly as we possibly can. And we are going to do this all through the way that LSO does it, through collaboration, through an inclusive approach that brings in as many players under a big tent as possible. So I want to finish off just by saying thank you. I've already thanked our sponsors, but all of our members, we're a fully member-funded organization. which means we're only able to do the work that we're able to do because of the support of you, our members, provide for us, as well as our sponsors and our volunteers. We have very active volunteers. This is a volunteer organization, so we are run on the efforts and acts of our volunteers. The reason we're able to do this is because life sciences is full of very passionate, dedicated individuals that believe what I believe, which is that although our sector is performing quite well in Ontario this time, we can do much, much more. We haven't even begun to realize our full potential as an economic sector that provide many social benefits to the province of Ontario. So with that, I want to say thank you to you all for attending today. I'll hand the mic back over to John to adjourn.
So I would echo Jason's comments about if you aren't a member, you should be a member. Right? So, and we have Sue Monroe up here who will happily take your membership application. So it's a great organization to be part of and join. So if there are no other questions, are there any other questions for you? Okay, so I would like to conclude the meeting. This brings us to the end of the business of the meeting. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Allison Symington, second. Alan, everybody put my hands. That shows a very active board. So it has been moved and seconded. The meeting can be adjourned. All in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, then motion carried, and the meeting has adjourned. So thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay, just have your attention for one moment. For our board members, we are going to convene next week.